I'm sitting here reading my Bible, and they got the psycho, the tomb sleeper, her and her crew. They over there tapping on the wall like psychos in 244, 8 Gateberry, Leah Patrice Jones Menace, Dr. Jamil Angelo Menace, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, the tomb sleepers. So they got the tomb sleepers over here tapping on the wall for the FBI Threat Liaison Center. Martin Luther King, he's turning over like, this is ridiculous. The FBI had him murdered. And then the alphas that he was a part of, they joined the FBI to gang stalk other black people. Imagine that. Because, see, something's wrong with them. They sleep in tombs. So when you sleep in tombs, you have, you know, it's not good for you to be sleeping in tombs. I just want to know why the pastor thinks it's a good idea for his fraternity members to be sleeping in tombs to cross line. Maybe they should go read the Bible. Maybe try that instead of sleeping in tombs. Maybe you guys wouldn't be so evil sitting over here tapping and banging on the walls nonstop to the townhome. He knew this was going on the whole time. That's why he moved her over here. And that's why you got him and his little tailor suit buddy. They too busy getting suits tailored to care about their constituents here in the state of Georgia. So that's what's going down. I will never, ever, ever vote for either one of them ever again. I don't care what they're running for. Waste of time and resources. Because I was advocating for them. I really was. But I didn't realize they were involved with having me gang stalk. Now, there was a video I seen about Senator Warnock's ex-wife said he ran over her foot. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't know if it's the foot thing because they like to do the little foot story or whatever. I don't know if that was just, they did the story and then stuck it up on my social media feed so I can see it because they do that nonsense too. Because they like to associate with foot and feet and do things like that. These are the type of things that, because they're following books and they're harassing me with books, and I'm sitting here looking at what they're looking at while they're doing it. So this is what's going on. The United States government, their occult division, is targeting and terrorizing civilians for no reason at all. But reading the Bible, as you can see, this is what I'm doing. So apparently she's annoyed because, she has the evil energy on her, evil spirits. So she's mad I'm reading my Bible. That's you know what I mean? Something's not right there. So she taps on the wall all day, all night long. But right now she's really ticked off because I'm reading my Bible because that bothers them. Cash Patel and Pam Bondi, they don't want, people reading their Bibles. So they have the neighbors tapping and banging on the wall. And before Cash Patel and Pam Bondi, it was Merritt Bryan Garland and Chris No Asher Ray. So, with his son Trip, because, Trip in the Bible. So trip line, trip wire. Um, there's something wrong. Something's not right with them. Something's not right. But she gonna be tapping on the walls because that's what the government pays her to do. They've been paying her to do that since she moved in. Since they had the other heifer block my home with a USPS truck, might I add, blocked my home, the front part of my home with the USPS truck. They gave it to her so she can move out. She pretended to move out. She never moved out. What she did was, Leah Patrice Jones Menace kept Kimberly Denise Fambro, who's a CDC employee, kept her stuff. She was renting it out to a military couple. Um, Kimberly Denise Fambro, she is not a minority. The individuals living next door pretending to be her were a minority. And then they were married and they had a minority son. Well, if you look at the public data on the internet, Kimberly Denise Fambro, that lives at this address, that owns that address, she was not a minority. So the person next door that came over gave me her number, wrote it down. My name is Kim, wrote her number down. She was not Kimberly Denise Fambro. She was pretending to be, and turns out they were military people. So she tried to hit me with their vehicle. She was banging on the wall nonstop. The same thing the heifer next door right now is doing, because the day that Kimberly Denise Fambro moved out, the military person, the big butt military person that they had banging into the wall of my home, throwing all her weight into the wall like she was trying to come through. They had her try to hit me with her Hummer. Well, the day that she was pretending to clean out the place, she was. I was on my balcony recording the United States government sending military helicopters over my home. So she drove up. They told her to drive up with her window down, calling me crazy. That's all on the internet, so you'll see it. She walks up with her friend. They're all laughing, hee hee hee, giggling and stuff because they think it's hilarious that the government is paying them to target people and then call them crazy. So this is what they do. This is their routine. So the day that she moved out, Leah Patrice Jones Menace moved in. I showed you guys the video when she moved in. I submitted to court as evidence. The day that she was looking at the place, she was blocking my she was on the side of her home, and then she seen me and came out around from her side of the home and stood on my driveway like an idiot. So she was stalking me prior to her actually moving in. Then the day that she moved in was the same exact day that Kimberly Denise Fambro moved out. There was no break or interruption in the wall banking. It was consistent. It stayed, did not stop. So I was like, I thought she moved. Well, it turns out the heifer next door, Leah Patrice Jones Menace, immediately started banging on the wall. Now she got ticked off because I found the property records of when they sold the home in her name, her full name. So I found out it was Leah Patrice Jones Menace. I wasn't sure at the time that she was married to the Bahamas Prime Minister's son because how things looked, it appeared like uh, she was married to the Bahamas Prime Minister, his wife, but it wasn't. It was his son, Jamil Angelo Menace, who's an Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Now they're harassing me with Patrice Jones Menace because they like to harass me with the word Patrick and the word Rice. So Patrice, of course, is Pat Rice. Timothy Patrick O'Hara is the new attorney, the federal public defender that they added to my case. He's from Chicago, lives 7 minutes from the attorney I asked for sanctions on for fraud, corruption, torture, all that stuff. Reported him to the FBI. Well, it turns out Magistrate O'Hara lived 7 minutes from him in Chicago. So they relocated him to Denver, added him to my case while he was a federal public defender, might I add. So they added him to my case while he was a federal public defender. October 2024, he was added. He was still a federal public defender while he was on my case. So he was condoning, authorizing, approving everything that's going on right now that's happening to me that he said is not his concern. Not his concern. That's what he said. Something to that fashion, not his concern. You're going to have to ask them for the transcript because when they send me stuff, they cut out all the wording. So you guys have to see if the transcript is available and see if the exact wording that I said is actually the wording that they produce because they have court stenographers come in and actually don't record the exact verbiage of what you're saying. They did that in my deposition, and it took almost a year for them to correct it. And then my attorney, Lynn Diamond Feiger, who works for the government now, she was like, you just got to sign this. You can't be changing stuff. I said, well, first of all, I never said this. And I said, you know what? Matter of fact, we're not even going to go through this. Send me the CDs because you guys recorded me. So send me the CDs of you guys, of the statements that you said that I made. Turns out when they did that, it did not match up. So I had to sit there and I was going through correcting everything. I said, I'm not about to do this. This is not my job. So I had to demand that they have the court stenographers correctly record my deposition. What they did was they changed my no's to yeses. It was deliberately done. It was obstruction. And so I've been dealing with this for a minute. And this is while the EEOC was on the case. This was before they sent me the fraudulent salary data. So I've been dealing with this nonsense on this case for a minute. This has been going on for a while. So like I said, if this is happening to me, I'm pretty sure it's happening to a lot of primarily black women in the United States because we're the main ones being have to self-represent ourselves and getting screwed by the injustice system that's pretending to be a court system that's paid for with taxpayer resources. Now, I owe tax debt, right? So the tax debt that I owe, I got to pay that so the government can turn around and have me assaulted with directed energy weapons. You ask me if it makes sense. I don't know, but I got a letter from the IRS asking me, "Do you think you're special?" So they've pretty much been watching Disney movies or whatever, but it seemed on that line of, "Do you think you're special?" It didn't necessarily say that word, but it sounded like exactly the verbiage. I'll have to get the letter to read it to you guys. But anyways, that's what's going on. Psycho next door, she's tapping on the wall. She's listening to me and then tapping on the wall, because that's what they have her do. They have her over there saying whatever um, rituals that the alphas, whatever, whoever idol that they're praying to, they're not supposed to be doing that because the Bible says you're not supposed to be doing that. But of course, they don't read the Bible, so they're too busy sleeping in tombs, initiating people to sleep in tombs, and then using that to target people. And they're so happy that, the government gave them a bank, so they can sit there and monitor all the members' transactions. But hey, as long as they got themselves a bank, they will sit and tap and bang on the walls to another person's home to harass and terrorize them for no reason at all. No reason at all. As long as they getting paid for it to do it, they don't give a shit. So this is what I'm dealing with. And then you got the Bahamas government, their son, he's involved. That's a Roman statute violation. They don't care. The government's coordinating with them to do that. The Bahamas prime minister wasn't a Bahamas prime minister. It was a prophet, a Bahamas prophet. He was murdered years ago. So I looked him up, looked up his information, and it said that he flew, or a crane or something from a building hit the plane, or they flew into it. Long story short, I looked at the time, and was it Jamil's father? No, 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 no. It wasn't Jamil's father. It was the president before him, before Jamil's father. I think I looked the information up. But long story short, he was murdered. He was murdered. I did my little research and the ways that I do my research, and he was murdered. So the Bahamas has a pattern of practice of murdering prophets, terrorizing, sending people over, coordinating with the FBI to terrorize black people in the United States for no reason at all, no reason whatsoever. Now ask yourself, why would they murder the prophet? He going around ministering to people, trying to get them saved, but like the U.S. government that has a problem with people reading their Bible and minding their own business, they had him murdered. Him and his wife, they was murdered on the plane. And the Bahamas government had something to do with it. I know they did. They can lie and say they didn't, but I don't really care, because I don't really care when people lie, especially if I know the truth or I'm able to research the truth, which I've done. And he was murdered. So now they got the current Bahamas prime minister, him and his trifling son. No, the one before that. Him and his trifling son, sitting here terrorizing black people in the United States, and they moved her over here when he was prime minister. So they started this nonsense when he was prime minister with his son here working out. He's from Morehouse College, and they gave him a OBGYN in the Bahamas, and then he's facing charges for some nonsense. I'll be honest with you, I think they made up a lie and put it in the newspaper just to try to get him some press coverage, because you know how they do. Any type of news for them, they don't really care as long as